standing orders, Order 7 of the standing orders, says it doesn't define majority, it doesn't define minority, but it defines majority leader. Means a member of parliament designated by the party or parties holding majority of the seats in the house as their recognized leader in the house. That's the majority leader. Now, look at how the standing orders defines the majority leader. A person designated by the party or parties. One will be tempted to adopt a purposive approach and say, Amako, what's it? Asiama Amako is a party. No. This drafting takes inspiration from our past experiences where we had so many parties, which parties could be classified as liberal, democratic, conservative, and so on. So that when they went into parliament, they could come together based on their ideological underpinning and determine a leader. So a classical case is what you see in Germany, okay, where parties sit by reason of their ideological underpinning and choose a leader. Asiama is not a party. He's an independent member of parliament. But look at the majority leader. A minority leader means a member of parliament designated by the party having the largest numerical strength in parliament other than the party that has formed government as the recognized leader of all minority groups in the house. By necessary implication, Asiama should be a member of the minority groups in parliament. By necessary implication. He is not a member of any party holding forming government. So he's, by necessary implication of this, he's a minority member of the house. But the minority member of the house says that he's going to cooperate with the majority for the purposes of conducting business. And he issues a letter. And if you won't mind, I will read the letter. And then we'll look at the legal implications of the letter. He says, declaration to do business with the MPP caucus. I, Andrew Asiama Amako, an independent member of parliament for Fomena constituency and now the second deputy speaker for same parliament, do hereby declare that I shall, for purposes of transacting business in the house, associate with the MPP caucus in the 8th parliament. My emphasis, for the purposes of transacting business in the house. For the purposes of transacting business in the house. For the avoidance of doubt, I hereby affirm that I shall cooperate and collaborate with the MPP caucus in the 8th parliament. Asiama has given two important matters. That he is an independent member of parliament and that he is a second deputy speaker. He now says that for the purposes of doing business in the house, he will cooperate and collaborate. Let's look at Article 96. Article 97, 1B of a 1G. Is it B or G? 96, 1G. 1B of the Constitution, 1B. 1B of the Constitution says, there shall be two deputy speakers of parliament, both of whom shall not be members of the same political parties. Asiama says that for the purposes of conducting business in the house, we shall collaborate and cooperate with the MPP caucus in Parliament. To all intents and purposes, Appiah is telling us that if he's working in Parliament, he will work as an MPP member. To all intents and purposes. That's what his letter says. Now, if that is the intent of his letter, he cannot be a second deputy speaker. It will conflict the article. Because that he will be a member, two deputy speakers will be from the same political party. Or will be working in federals of the same political party. Why is the constitution drafted that way? It was envisaged by the drafters of the constitution that my good brother, Kosi Pratt, for his honesty, reputation, straightforwardness, truthfulness, could be elected Speaker of the House without recourse to any political party. But deputy speakers must come from two political parties or different political parties in the House to balance up in Parliament. Now, two deputy speakers, and it's a constitutional injunct. The two deputy speakers must not come from the same political party. So what is, as Honorable Appiah telling us? Honorable Appiah doesn't say that he's going to join. He didn't use that word. That is the word the Constitution uses. He's going to join the political party. If he had used, I will join the political party in taking the MPP in taking decisions, then probably there would have been no need to construe his letter, the intent of his letter. But the letter read as a whole clearly leaves no doubt in my mind. I might be wrong, but leaves no doubt in my mind that what Appiah Amako is saying is that for the purposes of working in Parliament, to work in Parliament, in the 8th Parliament, he will be working as an MPP member. Now it's left for the legal pundits to interpret this and see whether or not there is a potential violation of Article 96 and Article 97 of the Constitution. I admit that there's no declared express declaration that he's abandoning his independent status and joining a political party. But what does the letter mean in its totality? I have the feeling that the letter read in its totality conveys only one distinct impression. Appiah will be working as an MPP in Parliament. That's the impression it conveys. And if it conveys that impression, clearly, even if he will lose his seat as a member of Parliament, he must lose his seat as second deputy speaker, because two deputy speakers cannot be working in furtherance of the interests of the same political party. That is what the Constitution says. And so, now coming to the Parliament, the NDC has 137 seats as sworn in on the 7th day of January 2021, and MPP has 137 seats as sworn in on the 7th January 2021 with one independent candidate. This Parliament is unlike any other Parliament since the inception of the Republic of Ghana. It's unlike. Now, so it will require, I have said it time and again, and I'm happy Elvis has spoken about it. It will require a lot of consensus building. It will require a lot of negotiation. It will require that the parties engage And when I say negotiation, people should not get me wrong. It means that when policies come, the policies will have to meet the legitimate expectation of the minority in parliament or opposition in parliament. It must address the concerns of their people before that policy can go through parliament. Now, when expenditure is to be made in this country, the budget estimates must reflect exactly where both parties think that the expenditure in those areas will bring us maximum results. It should not be the case that you can decide that you are going to give tax waivers for the building of a hotel at airport. You won't get the approval. You won't get, or you must demonstrate that that tax waiver is indeed and in fact in the interest of the country. You must demonstrate that. Or you build ponds and say they are dams and they dry in even the rainy season. It should not be possible. That policy, if it is going to pass in this 8th parliament, without looking into a crystal ball, I can tell you that there will be a lot of talking on the design, the nature, the cost of said dams. In fact, the supervisory jurisdiction of parliament will be more enhanced and more called into action now than before, because impunity is out of the door. Impunity. You cannot use your numbers. You don't even have the numbers. He said it. Majority of the ministers of Nana Addo Akufo-Addo will be appointed from parliament. That means 50 plus 1%. If he's appointed 80 ministers, I understand he's now aligning the ministries. If he's going to appoint 80 ministers, apart from deputy ministers, the substantive ministers, the regional ministers, and their deputies, if it's 80, it will be 41 of them must come from parliament. If it is 60, it will be 31 of them must come from parliament. If it is 70, it should be 36 of them must come from parliament. That is the equation. At least 36 of them if they are 70. At least 31 of them if they are 60. At least 41 of them if they are 80. And so, immediately you take that number out of parliament, you've already depleted your representation in the house. And so the business of the house, to all intents and purposes, will be carried out by the opposition party. And that's why you need to negotiate with them. That's why you need to build consensus on the business that you have to bring. That's why even the laws that you are going to bring, you must build consensus on them. Now, and that will reflect in the committees, especially now that committee representation is proportional. In the last parliament, MPP had 169, NDC had 106. It was almost like a third. Almost like a third. So they were 3-2 in most cases on committees. And so you could be voted out. So you remember the minority report of Ayini when the bribery scandal, which never saw the light of the day. It can happen now. Yes, you see, the Parliament Appointment Committee, you alluded to it. The Appointment Committee consists of our 18 people or so, or 25 or 18 people. 26 people. So it's going to be 13. And Appointment Committee approves people on the basis of unanimous decision, consensus, or division. Unanimous, if they all agree that this person is more than qualified to go, so they say, yeah, we'll go. Consensus, they think that that person is not otherwise, has some questions to answer. But on the whole, they think he should go. So they build consensus. So they approve of him by consensus. If it is division, it means that they are voting. And if they vote, it means that on the floor of the house, they will have to vote. And if the president, like in the Born Regional Minister's case, the president is intent on having that person as a minister, it means he must summon all his MPs to parliament. Because less than one, less than one. is a rejection. Exactly what I was saying. Less than once a rejection. So, and you know, when all the ministers are summoned to Parliament, the business and the ministers will do what? Will suffer. So, in this Parliament, we require careful navigation, careful approaches to how matters should be done. MPP got it wrong at the beginning when they thought that they could always have their way and printed brochures without an election outcome determining who should be speaker. They got it wrong. They were carried away by the impunity that they have always exhibited. I mean, they ought to have known. They ought to have known that Michael Clay was very active in Greater Accra region. You know that? In the primaries. Not all people he supported in the Greater Accra region made it to Parliament. He was present in Kwabenya. He was present in Kwabenya. His preferred candidate for Kwabenya never got it. He sacked himself. It was not Parliament. He himself, acting on the decision of the MPP, sacked the former MP from Parliament. He himself. We didn't debate it in the 7th Parliament. That alone are key pointers. That even though you might be able to whip people into line, sometimes whipping them into line will require horse whips. not the kind of whips that we have. And so clearly, but they got carried away. In the face of even my good brother sounding the warning on TV, they got carried away and said that they will win. They wouldn't. In fact, I know as a fact that Marco Queen would have been destroyed. I mean, would have been defeated disastrously. Would have performed disastrously in the House, but for the maneuvering that occurred before the Parliament was convened. Because as many as 15 members of Parliament from the MPP side said they were not going to vote Marco Queen. And now I'm aware of it. It's part of the emerging divisions in the party in preparation for 2024. But I will speak about it at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable, for your submission.
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm completely surprised. I mean, absolutely surprised that somebody thinks that the best thing to do in Parliament now is to play this numbers game. It's so shocking. Because even if you are declared the majority side, what does it mean in real practice? You understand?
Yeah.
It means absolutely nothing in real Parliament, in the real practice of Parliament. Because today you have a hung Parliament. Even if by some faulty arithmetic, and I think that, look, our government should begin to pay very serious attention to mathematics education. Because we have a situation where your electoral commission makes a mess of arithmetic, your parties in Parliament are making a mess of arithmetic, and so on. It means there's something fundamentally wrong with our mathematics education, and our government should begin to pay some attention there. But you see, even if you accept this maneuver, this arithmetic maneuver, which says that the New Patriotic Party has 138 members in the House, what does it mean in real practice? If you go to the Appointments Committee, you're going to have 13-13, even if MPP has 138. The first Deputy Speaker who is going to preside loses his initial vote, has only a casting vote. So it becomes 13-12. 12 for MPP and 13 for the National Democratic Congress. The committee can then reject all the appointees proposed by the government. So what is this numbers game designed to achieve? Indeed, the people in Parliament should now be thinking about consensus building. How do we arrive at decisions given the numbers that we have in Parliament? That should be the discussion. The discussion ought not to be about who has the majority and who has the minority, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help to propel the business of Parliament. You understand? Now, I think that the independent member of Parliament is walking a very tight rope. And if I were him, I'd be exceedingly careful. Because one, if by his letter, it is interpreted to mean that he's abandoning his independent status, he must lose his seat in Parliament. There must be a by-election in his constituency. Because the Constitution is very clear on the matter. You cannot cross carpet. He must also be minded by the mandate which was given to him by his people. The people who elected him in rejection of the MPP. Clear. The MPP put up a candidate against him. The electorate decided that they did not want MPP, they wanted an independent candidate. His conduct so far appears to suggest that he's not minded by the mandate given to him by his constituents. And that's a huge problem, you understand? Now, even if you accept, even if you overlook this fact of the real mandate which was given to him and so on, he is risking the possibility of losing his position as the second deputy speaker. Because the Constitution is very clear. The deputy speakers don't have to come from the same political party. So if he's going to work with MPP as he claims, and he's made some claims which are seriously atrocious, claims like the blood that runs in his veins is MPP and so on. I mean, what is that? And when he says that there's MPP blood and there's NDC blood and so on, I mean, weird. You understand? Very weird positioning and so on. But if I were him, I'd be exceedingly careful. You understand? The situation we have in Parliament has never arisen in Ghana's history. Perhaps it may not arise again for a very long time to come. It's a very unique position. And I think it's important for all of us to recognize the uniqueness of this position and to work around it so that Parliament can conduct business in a fruitful manner. The way we are going suggests very clearly that we are going to go for stalemate. You understand? Now, I'm told that ultimately the Speaker is going to have to rule on this matter. And I cannot predict how the Speaker is going to rule. I mean, the Speaker I know, Right Honorable Aban Bagwin, sometimes is unpredictable. You understand? And I've known him, not intimately, but over a long period of time. And I cannot predict how he's likely to rule. But whichever way he rules would have serious implications for the conduct of parliamentary business. And I'm sure that he's a very cautious person, and he would exercise a great deal of caution in making a ruling on this matter. But it is surprising that all of a sudden we are the majority and we are the minority and so on is what is confronting us, is what is being put before us, when the very major issues that we should be worried about, majority, minority, majority of one, that is even if we accept the aberration of an independent candidate becoming, part of a governing party. You see, our parliament is structured in such a way that it has only two sides. In other jurisdictions, the structure, the sitting arrangement in parliament takes cognizance of independent candidates and so on. In our own, it doesn't. So there are only two sides. So every and any member of parliament will have to sit on one side or the other, the left or the right. You understand?
Yeah.
That does not mean that you are abandoning your original status, your authentic status in parliament. This issue came up when Samia Nkrumah was elected, as a CPP candidate in parliament. And she had to make a choice of whether to sit on the left or the right. But she made it clear that no matter where she sat, she was neither NPP nor NDC. And we've had independent members of parliament before. And where they sat did not indicate their allegiance to political parties and so on. So look, I think that all of us ought to exercise some caution. All of us ought to be careful, because the way we have started, we are not going to end well. If we start like this, with contestations and so on, it's going to be impossible to make decisions in parliament. And government should be more interested, government and MPP people should be more interested in building a mechanism for consensus rather than confrontation. You're going to present a budget very soon. If you take this attitude of insisting that we are the majority and showing strength and displaying impunity and so on, how are you going to get your budget passed? The president is going to be nominating ministers very soon. How is he going to get approval for his ministers if this is the attitude? This is a wrong attitude. This is an attitude which would not make parliament's work easy and so on. I think it should be abandoned as quickly as possible. And who said that parliament must always be organized on the basis of majority and minority? Who said that? Who said that? This is the time for cool heads to prevail, for all the sides in parliament to meet and say, look, even the standing orders as it stands today is problematic. So let's review the standing orders to reflect our reality. And the standing orders can be reviewed in such a way as to do with this concept of majority versus minority. It is possible. Why? It is parliament which makes its own laws. You understand? Parliament is a place where they make their own laws, they make their own regulations, and the regulations can change in order to reflect current reality. I think it is possible, but the way we are going, I don't think that is how we are thinking. And it is dangerous, it is problematic, it may lead to a stalemate which will make governing this country impossible, if not difficult.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pratt, for your submission. Honorable, I'll start with you on the third topic, allegation of attempted bribery of election of Speaker. Bribery defense judge.
Well, this is a very serious matter. I have had opportunity to comment on it on other platforms. I've said, and I take the caution of my good brother and friend Abuchi seriously, that we must be circumspect in discussing this matter. But you see, judges play a very important role in society. They are supposed to be neutral, independent, and impartial arbiters in society, so as to engender confidence and trust in their administration of justice. And that is the point through which I will come in discussing this matter. Now, I have had opportunity to talk to some members of parliament, and they still hold the view that it appears to them that there was a failed attempt by a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature to influence the decision of a member of parliament on the NDC side in favor of voting for Mark Okwe. That if that is proven, that becomes very problematic. Because the question you will ask is, what interest, express or implied, did or does a justice of the Superior Court of Judicature have in the election of a Speaker of Parliament? What interest? How can the election of a Speaker of Parliament advance the cause of justice or the administration of justice in this country? How does it? I fail to see any connection between the election of a Speaker and the administration of justice or the performance of the duties of judges in this country. And that is why it's quite worrying. Why a call from a judge will be placed to any person at all. A judge should be an impartial observer of the proceedings in Parliament as they unfolded on the 7th of January. Now, some have said that we should be cautious, so we are cautious. But you see, throughout history, if you read the jurisprudence of jurisprudence, I mean, you can say jurisprudence of law, the science of law. Now, judges have been treated differently in different ages, in different time ages. In the time of Grotius, who was a learned justice, his house was built on the hill, so that anybody climbing the hill would be seen by people living in the community, so that you could tell whether somebody was going to influence him or not. That was how they ensured the neutrality, integrity, and reputation of judges. Because judges are also human beings. The frailties of mankind attend upon them also. But for a judge himself to elect to visit on himself or herself approbation, it becomes quite difficult. And that's why I will use this opportunity. I know the judges are listening, some of them are listening, to say that we're building our democracy, and we're building a democracy in which we want meritocracy to govern the affairs of men in society, that people must get elected into offices or appointed into offices based on what they can offer their country, not based on their personal relationship or attachment to others in society. People must be judged on the basis of the content of their character, to quote Martin Luther King, not on the color of their skins or who they are associated with. So let's all, as a country, begin to look and assess people on the basis of what they can contribute to the country. Now, I've heard the Chief has issued a statement through the Judicial Secretary saying that the Chief Justice saying that he's interested in investigating the matter. I mean, it is important that we get to the bottom of this matter and name and shame, if it is established, the judge who did that. It is important. I mean, if there was an attempt to bribe actually, then the judge might even lose his position as a judge. Because bribery, attempt to bribe is as good as bribery. The intent would have been formed. Okay, so clearly, let's see how that goes. I've also spoken to the minority chief whip. Now, I don't know how to describe him. He says that he's opposition chief whip. He's not minority chief whip. He's not a minority in parliament. So I've spoken to the opposition chief whip, who says that, yes, he's also willing to cooperate with the Chief Justice in unraveling the circumstances through which a call was placed to one of his members of parliament, urging her to vote for Makokwe. He is also willing. So let's see how that happens. But after Obiri Buahi, my good brother and friend, Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, I don't know why he's defending judges. I know he's a lawyer. I don't know why he's defending a judge. He should be interested in ensuring, because I've heard him say elsewhere that even if the judge wanted somebody to vote for Makokwe, what does it matter? Well, I don't think that this is the time to begin to make such comments. This is our 8th republic, or no, 8th parliament should proceed on a note of unity and consensus building. Because we are walking on a tightrope, and all of us must be mindful what we say going forward. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome, sir. Elvis.
Let me from the outset state clearly that the position of my very respected senior, Mr. Bribery, is not the official position of the New Patriotic Party on this subject, much as he is the Deputy General Secretary. I want to draw the patterns of distinction where I interrogate the matter in the manner it should. First of all, away from the position of Bribery or whosoever may have made statements for or against this matter, it is important for us to actually interrogate same, on the basis of the kind of institution the accused in this particular case comes from. We are told this is a justice of the apex court of the land, the Supreme Court of Justice. The arguments, as I have seen from my respected senior, is the case that, well, like all other human beings, justices have the right to support any political party they want to do or grant support to, so long as they do not do active public politics. Yes, that is legally correct. It is also correct to say that as human beings, these judges hold the basic right to association and may by so join any association as they deem fit, so long as it does not conflict with the practical functionality of their job. That is legally correct. However, in every part of the world, the judiciary, being an adjudicator of law, administering justice is treated differently. Why? Because you cannot be talking about the elements of justice without having to do with the pillars of impartiality and fairness. By necessary implication, any other thing, it doesn't matter its remoteness, once it bears the propensity of undermining impartiality, and fairness, will necessarily affect the very basis of justice, and the precipitating effect will not yield the necessary outcome we require in law. And that is why, beyond the legality of these considerations, we are drawn into a moral arena so as to be able to uphold the tenets of justice by being some way, somehow, to a larger degree, impartial. And judges in Ghana are not an exception to this moral invitation. Now, if we move away from the debate of the mere association of a judge to a particular political leaning to the debate of the current consideration and allegations made by Honorable Muntaka, it moves from the natural right of association to an act, if proven to stand, will impute criminality on the person, in this case the judge. What is that act? We can adduce that if it is true that the alleged claim that the said judge, whom I don't know, beyond declaring support for a particular nominee for a position in Parliament, actually sought to convince any particular MP that, look, if you do what I am asking you to do, the material benefit of same for you as an individual is to draw fuel for a period of 4 years free of charge from a particular filling station. It moves from sharing of opinions, he's entitled to share an opinion, but this element of inducement, if found to be the case, actually drags everything to an atmosphere of criminality where you have sought to bribe. And bribery in our laws is not permissible, especially for a person of his class or her class who should actually understand same better. So the debate by my senior, the Deputy General Secretary, that, oh, he's entitled to his opinion, he can draw people to support based on, I think his argument says, based on relationship. Well, when the element of inducement is established, it automatically disintegrates the foundations of a relationship. Yeah. In law, the relationship does not come into the equation any longer. In fact, if there was indeed a relationship, it should have been the basis for which inducement wouldn't be drawn in. So, I mean, too much partisanship, what do we hope to achieve? I will not support any judge doing this for the NDC. I won't support any judge doing this for the MPP in the interest of the kind of democracy. In our democracy, partiality is critical. And so he's not speaking from the position of the party. If this was the original position of the party, the General Secretary would have issued a statement to that effect. I think that if the veracity of the claims of Honorable Muntaka are ascertained and found to be true, then it calls for a serious interrogation of our justice system. And this should awaken the call that even the Attorney General's department should be broken off completely from the politically appointed justice ministry. And we must begin to reconsider that justices of the Supreme Court actually go through a bureaucratic rank of promotion to attain that height. Largely, it is a presidential prerogative to be able to sponsor the promotion of seemingly qualified people to sit in our apex court. Because if these things are happening, the practical objective of our jurisprudence, which must allow some neutrality and fairness, is so because it is required as a necessary catalyst to build public confidence on the judiciary. So if a judge or a justice of the Supreme Court, for that matter, is found in the manner in which it is alleged to have been, if same is found to be true, it automatically deflates the confidence of the public and people coming before you with cases upon which justice is indeed needed to be administered. So for me, I'm not supporting the left or the right of it. An allegation have been made. I am happy that the Chief Justice have indicated that the matter is going to be interrogated. I am also happy that the Honorable Muntaka says that he's ready to, make himself available for any form of assistance required by the judiciary to get to the bottom of this. Let me state that if at all it were to be the case that such a justice did what he did, for all you know, it even happened on the blunt side of Professor Makokwe himself, who may not have known that at the time of these happenings, a justice of the Supreme Court was seated somewhere to, as it were, try to find support for him. Can we also safely conclude that, given that this was not a matter beyond NPP as a party to have handled, a way of maneuvering to have a speaker elected in its favor, I do not think that the NPP's mode to have resorted would be a justice of the Supreme Court. So can we safely conclude also that such a justice could even be mischievous, because in our political arrangement everything is possible? Why at that time, especially considering the heat of the moment, excuse my language, no very sensible person, not if you are to deal prudently, especially considering the position he holds, if he or she were to deal prudently, calling an NDC member of parliament was most perilous at that point. The agitation in the House did not so suggest that there was going to be a compromise from half a person, if we have that, coming from the NDC. I'm very suspicious. I'm very, very suspicious. But without facts, whom am I to interrogate further? We leave it at that, notwithstanding the position of Senior Bribery on this subject. I differ from, the mere fact that relationship and opinions does not constitute a wrong. Yes, there is both a legal and moral wrong if the inducement that appears in the clothes of bribery is adduced to be true about the circumstances surrounding this matter. I rest my defense on
Thank you so much, Elvis. Mr. Fran.
Well, this morning I'm getting so many surprises. And one of the surprises I'm getting this morning is that Mr. Bribery does not even doubt the allegation. I mean, I've read his interview, and he's saying that, well, the judge is right. Did the judge do what is alleged or not? He doesn't even provide room for doubt. You understand? And that's what is shocking for me. Because under normal circumstances, I expect that people in his position would have said that, well, there's an allegation, and that this allegation has not been proven. We haven't seen the evidence and so on, and therefore, if we see the evidence, then we can make up our minds and so on. He goes ahead straight away and says, the judge committed no offense. And it is surprising, for me. Look, open partisan display by judges is an affront to the independence of the judiciary, no doubt. And it gets worse when those alleged to be involved in it, or the person alleged to be involved in it, is described by the person making the allegation as a very, very, very senior Supreme Court judge. Mark the words. Very is used 3 times. Very, very, very senior Supreme Court judge. And that immediately rules out a number of people. I mean, it rules out Henrietta Mensah Bonsu. It rules out, Gabriel Poiman and so on. Because if it's a very, very, very senior Supreme Court judge, it limits. You understand? It limits the scope. But let us say that the very, very, very was used inadvertently, and that it may not reflect the situation. Whatever it is, a Supreme Court judge is alleged to be involved, and that raises serious questions. One of the most fundamental questions it raises has to do with the independence of the judiciary in an era where we have accepted the principle of separation of powers. Because this clearly amounts to a blatant, direct interference in the work of the legislature. And that's an affront to the principle of separation of powers. You understand? Then, quite apart from that, I am convinced that our judges are stopped from an open display of partisanship. They're stopped. Otherwise, how are they seen to be neutral and fair and so on? If judges can attend political rallies, can wear political colors and so on, how can they adjudicate? One of the things that I want to see is that this matter ought to be investigated before the determination of the presidential election petition. Because it will have consequences for the presidential election petition before the Supreme Court. What if it's eventually established that somebody who has been empaneled to hear the petition is the person who did this? That's a big problem. So, as a matter of fact, we should treat this matter with urgency. Determine this quickly. If Honorable Muntaka says he has the evidence, he has been made to provide the evidence as quickly as possible for this matter to be resolved before we get into the election petition. And I believe that, very, very strongly, that we need to do that. Now, apart from all the issues I've raised, there's also the issue of bribery. You understand? And even if we come to the conclusion that judges are free to wear MPP colours or CPP colours and so on to sit in open court, even if we come to that conclusion, how would that justify the issue of bribery and so on? So this is an important matter. I'm exceedingly happy that the Chief Justice has sought it fit to follow the matter to its logical and judicial conclusion. You understand? I'm happy about that. And I do hope that in the final analysis, the facts will be laid bare and all of us can come to some very fair conclusions about what actually happened and what may not have happened. We are told, for example, that the inducement was made by telephone call. Now, if the inducement was made by telephone call, the records will be there. The records will not be wiped. The point is whether or not the mobile telephone company or the telephone company can be compelled to make those records available. And I believe that would also lie in the bosom, ultimately lie in the bosom of the judiciary, which can order that those records are made available. And so the evidence, if the call was made by telephone, would be there. And let's just settle this matter as quickly as possible. First and foremost, if it is established that a judge of the Supreme Court was engaged in this sordid affair, that judge can under no circumstance sit on the election petition. That's number one. Number two, eventually that judge may not be able to continue as a judge of the Supreme Court and so on. And I think that we should investigate these matters very, very quickly and bring the issue to a close. I mean, the claim that the judge may have had a personal relationship with the person who the judge contacted is neither here nor there. I mean, it's not something which mitigates anything at all. You understand? Why? It's clear. I think we should just move on. And look, the New Patriotic Party at this stage also ought to take measures to restrain its officers from making some kinds of statements. I mean, I hear my brother Elvis say that Nana Obiri was not speaking for the party. It may well be so. It may well be that, he was contacted, he didn't seek clearance and so on, spoke for himself. But his association with the party cannot be erased. And it's troubling, it's exceedingly troubling for a Deputy General Secretary of the governing party to publicly declare that judges of the Supreme Court can wear party colors. You understand? It's problematic, And maybe not just the New Patriotic Party, all the political parties ought to be able to restrain their officers from shooting from the hip.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Pratt. Let me take a few of our messages. This one says, Pan-African TV, good morning. Andre Siama Mwako had all the opportunity in the world to provide the balance in Ghana's hung parliament. As independent MP, the honorable man could have been the tiebreaker in very crucial decisions. How is it that the nobleman appears not sure of this unique position divinely bestowed on him, having regard to the circumstances surrounding his election? The choice is his exclusive right. Osofo in Kumasi sent in that one.
This is a brilliant point. Brilliant point made by the viewer.
Yeah.
Look, in today's parliament, if the independent member of parliament conducts himself properly and sensibly, he becomes the most powerful person in parliament. He appears to be throwing that power away. You understand? The most important person in Parliament, bestowed with so much power and authority, and he's throwing it away. He can't see it.
Yeah.
You can see it.
If I voted for him, I'd be very sad.
You can see it.
He can't see it. What does he want in Parliament that he cannot get today? And yet,
but the reverse of your statement can also be the case, that what can he get in Parliament that he doesn't want? What about that? We can interrogate it from that perspective.
Yeah.
So let's move on.
All right.
I mean, he doesn't see it. He doesn't see it. Yeah.
Yeah, from a quantine of two regions. In fact, the MPP guy speaks the fact. I admire him a lot. But for Mr. Obrebuahi, I will encourage him not to be biased in terms of facts. My greetings to Mr. Pratt and Honorable Ines Afuseni. Thank you so much for your message. This one says, why is it that MPP always want to defend the EC and the judges all the time? I don't think the MPP is their spokespersons. Salam from Wa sent in that one. Salam, thank you so much for your message. This one says, did the IGP, the Peace Council, and its cohorts hear what some MPP persons said to the effect that they would burn ex-President Mahama's house and himself alive? Would they have been quiet without causing any arrest if it had been NDC members who made those threats? Anasco in Santa Maria. Anasco, thank you so much for your message. Good morning. Who is Mr. Obrebuahi defending? Does he know who the accused judge is? Enjoying the credible station by Lexus from Kalio Nadoli. Thank you so much, Lexus, for your message. This one says, good morning to all panel members of the show for this morning, most especially Uncle Kwesi Pratt for his wonderful display of knowledge this morning. Thank you so much, Busa, for your message. Good morning to you all. NDC should give them the majority. It adds up to nothing. How they rule is the problem. Aisha in Pando sent in that one. Aisha, thank you so much for your message also. This one says that this 8th Parliament is going to be very interesting because both MPP and NDC MPs will be divided equally on various working committees of Parliament. So the MPP should stop jubilating because their so-called majority is intensive unit care. God save us from this selective justice, hooliganism, culture of impunity, nepotism, and mother serpent of corruption under the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Good morning, Justice Appiah. I'm enjoying the program. You sent in this one from Kwao. Thank you so much for your message. You didn't add your name. This one says, good morning, Pan-African TV. I like the outfit of Mr. Pratt. He is more handsome than ever. Rootman from Sunyani. Rootman, thank you so much for your message. My name is Bismarck from Nungwa. The MPP, well, I won't entertain insults on the program. I'm sorry. I can't continue reading that message. Good morning, my brother. The lawyer in your studio is very, very good. He should live up to his name. Well, Elvis is not a lawyer. I'm sorry. Thank you so much for your message. If the independent candidate is always asked to join either the majority or the minority, now logically, if there is no majority or minority, there is no independent candidate to make any decision to join any of the caucus. So you guys should get, except that the logical reasoning is weak. Please, per your statement. Please, per your statement, where will the independent candidate join since we have no majority or minority? Thank you so much for your message. I don't understand your message anyway, but...
What is saying that the independent cannot claim to be joining a majority or a minority because there's no minority and there's no majority.
That's what he's trying.
Okay. This one says, retired Honorable Bagby must still with this irritating and dishonest narrative of selection of speaker by consensus by the dishonest MPP MPs. We saw the voting, sorting, and counting of Professor Michael Quay's votes. We saw how Carlos Ahinkra snatched Honorable Bagby's ballot papers and chewed two Lawrence Adai and his people are misleading Ghanaians. Panther from Wa sent in that one. Who is Lawrence Adai? Well, after 28 years of democracy, instead of fixing the road linking two major cities in Ghana, i.e. Accra and Kumasi, is this what we get? Well, our members of parliament are not doing us any good. I salute Uncle Kwesi Pratt Jr. and Honorable Alhaji B. Fuseni. Honorable Indosa Fuseni instead, not Alhaji B. Fuseni. From Abdurrahman in Mampontin. Abdul, thank you so much for your message. Good morning to you and your panelists. In fact, I would like to encourage the MPP man to remain like this. He's always saying the truth and he says it as it is. Thank you so much for your message, Francis. This one says, hi, this is not Kwame, this is Justice. You are asking of generous number. Unfortunately, I can't get it for you here. This one says, please, the MPP cannot be regarded as majority. Okay, thank you so much for your message. Good morning, Pan-African TV. I really like and admire the MPP man on the program this morning. Okay, thank you so much for your message. Good morning, wonderful presentation from senior comrade and mentor, Honorable Alhaji Indosa Fuseni. Frederick sent in this one from Nadole Khalil constituency. Thank you so much, Frederick, for your message. Well, I think our time is up, though I have a lot more messages here. Kindly forgive me for not being able to read your message. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so grateful. This is our time will last on the program. Make a time with us, same time tomorrow. My name once again is Justice Appiah. Goodbye.
Of herbal products for your dreadlocks and natural hair.
It's incredible! Bang on target!
Ridge Royal Hotel. In the recent light of pandemic, we are taking utmost care to ensure the safety of our guests. We have to change with the times, and the hotel industry is used to change. Ridge Royal Hotel is located at number 1 Second Ridge, Cape Coast, Ghana. For more information, contact +233 031 200 3222. Email admin@ridgeroyalhotel.com.gh. Ridge Royal Hotel, richly inviting, comfortably yours. We look forward to welcome you soon.
Hello, Ghana. I introduce you to the #1 combined harvesters in the whole universe, the World Combined Harvester. World Combined Harvesters are very efficient and drastically reduce post-harvest losses. It's cost-effective with low operating expenses, easy and comfortable to operate. Works well both on wetland as well as dry land. World Combined Harvesters come with automatic gear drive, diesel-powered engines, 1.77 cubic meter grain storage tanks, 2.2 meter cutting width, 360-degree unloading pipe, and a sunshade. World Combined Harvesters are best suited for crops such as rice, corn, wheat, and soya bean. To buy or hire a World Combined Harvester, kindly call the sole distributor, CAM Trading and Farms Limited, on 0546 372014 or 0278 223811. I repeat, 0546 372014 or 0278 223811. World Combined Harvesters, your #1 combined harvester in the whole wide world.
Truly African.
Oh, it's incredible! Bang on target!
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the couch. My name is Appiah. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've been here talking books, discussing books. I promise I missed this. I really, truly missed this. It's been a glorious, happy 2021. But so far, we have not had the opportunity to review a book. So this will be our first book. This will be the first book of this fabulous year, 2021. And Mimi did the choosing for this book. All of us have one word or two to share with her after the show about her choice. But the book we are reviewing tonight is The Lion and the Jewel. It's one by, you know, the legendary Wei Shoyinka. Of course, by myself, have been joined by the squad. There's Hilda. Hi, Hilda. Looking good.
Thank you.
I was telling you earlier, I love the blue, you know.
One can see that my hair is blue.
But no, I'm not. You see, the blue is matching with the skirt, and the jacket as well. I love it. I'm here for it.
You're looking beautiful.
Thank you. I know she just quickly.
So relaxed, looking fabulous.
Thank you, Hilda. Yes, thank you, Maud. Thank you, Maud. Thank you, Maud. It's a fabulous year.
Yeah.
Fabulous 2021. Of course. There's a fabulous one. Yeah. Hi, Victor. Great. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. You have been, you know, you've been on the road. We have been here. So
I know. But it's great to be back.
It's good to have you back.
Oh, see, I love you guys.
Yeah, we love
making
you.
me feel very tall. Okay.
Who asked you to stand by you to take a picture?
I think if I stood by you, you still feel tall.
Yeah, that's why we whispered into TJ's ears.
That he takes me away.
Eliminates you. Alright,
Okay.
so our book for conversation tonight is The Lion and the Jewel. Let's start with our first impressions of the book. Victor, you do that.
So
the summary first, and then your impression.
okay,
If
so Lion and Jewel is, if you like, a post-colonial read, and it's a book about a young, if you like, an upstart, suppose a semi-educated man, school teacher who is in a village and is trying to get the village people to think modernity and put aside barbaric norms that they have been used to. And he has a love interest, Sidi, that he's been chasing for the most part, but wouldn't pay her bride price because he thinks it is backward. And paying a bride price for a woman means that you're buying her and she's merely a property and not a companion. But then there's also the village chief, Bale Baroka, who, as an institutionalized polygamist, found his own ways to get the jewel of the village, the most beautiful girl, Sidi, to be his, if you like, one of the wives that he's had through cunning ways. So this is probably the best summary I can give to the book at the moment. And for me, my impressions of the book, I think I said it when we're off air, that I thought it's a complex read. It's not a book that got me excited, or anything. And there are a few comical scenes in there, but I think it's a book that points, us towards many of the post-colonial struggles that we have had as, many of these African societies, the struggles, the identity issues we've had in trying to hold on to our traditions and trying to merge them or infuse them into, as it were, progressive modern trends. So I think for now that will be my impression of the book.
Right. Hilda.
So I read the book and I'm like, why are we reviewing this book? Yes.
I feel that to say it.
Just as it is.
Because where are we? Because as Victor was saying, it's not a very exciting book. I think I would have loved watching it as a play, because the book gives more to the imagination. It's complex, as he's saying as well. So you have to try and decipher what the author is trying to achieve by the storyline that he chooses. I saw the book as a comedy.
Okay.
Yes. Well, it's not a book. It's a play.
It's a play.
It's a play. Yeah, it's a play that we are reading. So it's a dramatic comedy. Very exciting, revolving around 4 characters. Mainly, the Bill as Lakunle, Sidi, and then Sadiku.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't have any favorite characters, which is quite not quite like me, because I tend to adapt to someone, But this one, tried as I couldn't find any person or any character to associate with.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. But then you read it again. Yes, I read it twice, Amma. You read it again.
That's how much you love it.
No, because I know it's coming here, so I have to make sure that I say something very meaningful. Yeah, so I had to read it. You read it again, and then so many themes jump up
at you.
So
should we just go right there? Should we start with the
I think
themes?
we can just zoom in.
I think we can start from
We
there.
can start with characterization.
We speak about the author first. Are we taking it for granted that Wei Shoinka is so, known and legendary, so we are just keeping that part?
No.
Let's talk about
I
him.
think that probably the fact that we find the book a complex read says a lot about Wei Shoinka himself as a person.
Right.
He likes to be sophisticated.
He is a sophisticated man.
And philosophical. And so he wants to say something or write something that gets you thinking, or and so that's his personality reflect in the play itself. And so because of that, you're not finding a lot of ease in reading the book like you would a Chinua Achebe text or an Olaotimi drama, for example. So it's a lot of seriousness. It's a lot of comic scenes in there. Nice. I think that it's a satirical read. Hilda disagrees, but I think it is. That he uses the comedy in there just to ridicule a few societal norms, but the complexity of the text is testament to the fact that Soyinka likes to be, sophisticated, often hardly straight to the point, and then he would have to move around before he comes to what he wants to say. Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that I wouldn't pick away Soyinka book if I'm aiming for relaxation.
Exactly.
If I'm having a bad day and I want something to just calm me down, I'm not picking up away Soyinka read. Poem, satire, drama, play. No, I'm not touching it, because you're right. He tends to, be that author that sort of wants you to think as you are reading, trying to find the meaning.
Find the meaning.
My mom says that about some musicians we have in Ghana. She says they are philosophical musicians. Like, when you start playing, she's like, I'm not in the mood to think. I'm not in the mood to think. So I find, but they are necessary for growth as well. Authors like that, to challenge us, to think outside of the box, and examine and re-examine ourselves and all of that. So, Yeah. Can we go straight to the themes then?
Well, let's talk about the title.
Right.
What do you think about the title?
I think it's pretty explicit. The lion and the jewel. Because we know who the lion is and we know who the jewel is.
Yeah.
But so what should it be symbolic of?
I didn't want to trouble myself with the symbolism. Because he tells us who the lion is.
Yes.
We know that the lion is Baruka. And the jewel is Sidi. So in my mind, so the lion and the jewel. Let's go.
Well, I mean, the lion is supposed to be the king of the jungle, and we find in the book that literally the setting of the play is like a jungle, the village, because Baroka is the only one that is sort of healed, and then he seems to conquer those that he feels are going to take a shine, just like the lion, because I mean, if you see the male lion coming with all the bushy thing, and of course we know what a jewel is, something that is precious, and with Sidi being at that time the most beautiful girl in town. So yeah, I think that he did well with the title of the book. It's really clear. I mean, when you start reading the book and you are introduced to Sidi, you know who she is, that she's the jewel. When you are introduced to I prefer the Bali. But you know that you know that he is the lion. So yes, the title of the book was very apt for the play.
And just to chip in a little on the title of the book, I was asking what you thought was symbolic of.
Right.
Let's remember this. So Sidi was getting excited because a Lagos person has come in to take a photo of her and then publishes her image on the cover of a magazine. She's so excited. Bali Baroko realizes that Sidi is gaining popularity in the village. But he has been the person of popularity, the big name in the village. So if Sidi is taking this as the lion that I'm the king of the jungle, this has to stop. Attention has to shift from her to me. So what better way to get attention back to me than to subdue her and make her one of my wives? So if she is my wife, then I can keep her quiet and the fame comes back to me. So Baroka got the most beautiful jewel in the town. So the attention now shifts from Sidi to Baroka. Again, I think there is significance to the title, especially with the use of the word lion.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing an issue of masculinities in there.
Also, we are the theme now. Are we here yet?
Well, I'm just so we'll get there just to paint a little picture.
Okay.
After the Sidi's incident with Baroka, whether it was a sexual assault or consensual sex. Well,
Why are you jumping?
He's jumping.
He's jumping.
Okay, let's not jump. Okay, let me just hold it until we get there. Let me hold it until we get there. I was going to talk about the fact that CD referred to Lakunle as a shrimp.
Yeah.
And it's kind of reflects in our, depiction of the different male species within our society.
Yeah.
That we see one as a lion and one as a shrimp. So one is a weakling and they are not man enough, and another is a lion and they are dominating everyone. And so we want to be with the one that is man enough. And then we're shoving.
Yeah, bringing us back to your thing. Let's just go there.
Okay.
Let's just go there. So you start us off on please. Take us right there.
So I think I've started with masculinity.
Right.
The way Lakunle was projected in the text, and we might probably talk about characters going forward. The masculinities issue, so Lakunle first and then Baraka, these two. Baraka is in his early 60s. He should be an old man. Lakunle is probably...
He is an old man.
He is
62.
62. Yes. And then Lakunle maybe probably in his early 30s, who knows? Semi-educated, a school teacher.
He's in his 20s.
20s, okay, semi-educated. And he tries to woo probably the most beautiful girl in town, but then it's not like Sidi doesn't want him, but Sidi is hesitant because Lakunle is not projecting himself as what they know as a village as the men. So the men in the town are in a hurry to pay bride price, and he doesn't want to. And so Sadiku would take any opportunity to take a slight at him and call him names. And then they kept shoving him. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Sidi shoved him aside about twice and he went down. Sadiku went at him and then he had to go back a number of times. The understanding I get from there is that Weshenka projects Lakunle as what would be regarded in that society as a weakling. Because typically a man should be able to stand up to a woman, but Lakunle wasn't able to. And so in referring to him as a shrimp is weak, it is soft, easily breakable, but a lion is not. So the lion, the symbol of the lion and the shrimp is a huge contrast for me. And for me, that's the best way Weshenka tries to paint a picture of masculinities in the text.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think that far.
Yeah.
But I appreciate everything he's saying. Because it's true.
Yeah.
But what I thought, though, about the shoving was that it was part of the dance. I thought it was an act.
Yes.
No.
It wasn't.
Remember when Sidi came from Baraka's hat after the incident?
Right.
She was on the floor, and then Lakunle was going to console her, and then he went to her to tell her, I still want you, regardless. Because now that you are no more a virgin, I can have you without paying the bride price. She goes to pack her stuff, thinking she was coming along with him. He goes back, and then he shoves him aside. So there was no dance in the incident.
Okay. Right. I mean, I get what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. Masculinity. I didn't think that far.
I mean,
What's your thing?
I bride price.
Right.
Okay.
Bride price. I think that in the book it starts with Lakunle, wooing Sidi, and Sidi trying to say that, hey, I felt that Sidi also liked Lakunle, but he had to pay the bride price and he was refusing to pay, And I found it very interesting. If you love somebody, you love the woman, and you understood the tradition